I just think you can go further together than you can do by yourself. And because of that, I think community is a vital part to the development of any human being in whatever field you're in.
Mhm.
I think anything that you can do collaboratively, I think it takes you further than you can go by yourself.
Welcome. You are listening to Season 3 of the Bonafide Leaders Podcast, a podcast that exists to inspire legitimate and authentic leadership in the workplace and beyond. And I'm your host, Tim G. Williams. This season's theme is the intersection, sports, business, and leadership, which happen to be three of my greatest loves on earth. Now, if you don't play sports, you've never played sports, or you don't like sports, don't tune out. This podcast is for you too. I promise there will be nuggets for everyone. Welcome into another edition of the Bonafide Leaders Podcast. I am your host, Tim G. Williams. With me in person today is a man who needs no introduction. That's what I would like to say. But he needs an introduction to some. I'm just going to briefly tell you that who I'm talking to is the man himself, Dr. Conway Edwards. He is the pastor of this church here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex called One Community, of which I am a parishioner, and I am thrilled to have him here in person. Pastor Conway, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It is my honor. Looking forward to it. And any way I can come alongside you and help, that's what I'm all about. Let's make it happen.
Good. Awesome. Well, I thought what I would do for our listening audience today is actually start with the place that may be unfamiliar to you, which is where we met, how we met. Do you remember this?
I have no idea. No, I really don't. So, yeah, refresh my memory.
Okay. So I was supposed to, let me back up a step. My lovely bride said, hey, I've met with Jada. We've been attending the church for a little bit. You ought to meet Pastor Conway.
Okay.
I said, why? And she said, because y'all are always talking about leadership stuff. He's talking about leadership stuff. You talking about all these books that you read. I think, it ought to be an interesting conversation.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
And so I said, okay. And so I, set up the meeting.
Yeah.
Martha schedules. And I think we have like a 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock meeting. Now, I work down in North Dallas.
Right.
As you know, where the church is located, a bit of a distance.
Yeah.
But I leave work. It's not during my lunch break, but I say, this is the only time I get. Let me go get this time. About a 1 o'clock meeting, and about 1:15. Yeah. And then maybe about 1:25, let's just say.
Okay.
I hear a Scottish accent coming out of your office. You have any idea of who that could be?
From
Prosper.
Yeah.
Okay.
That must have been David.
David.
Was it David for real?
David.
That's incredible.
So David walks out. Y'all are having a great time.
Right.
He's got a big old smile on his face. I'm like, wow, such a good mood. You know what's going on?
And clueless about your 25-minute wait.
And then I go in, and the first thing I notice, over your right shoulder, I believe it's your right shoulder, maybe your left shoulder, there's a camera in the corner.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
So,
there are two cameras in there,
exactly.
actually.
So I get a little nervous because I'm like, I've been in a senior pastor's office before, but I have never been in an office with a camera in it. Is that for me? Is that for him? So anyway, I'm a little thrown off.
Interesting.
But I calmed down.
Okay.
And then eventually we do some small talk, and you're like, okay, so why do you want to meet? And I was like, well, there's nothing really. My wife just said, you know some leadership stuff, and I like leadership stuff, so we should just talk. And I'll never forget, like, your jaw dropped to the ground because you're like, you don't have any problems?
Right. You don't need anything from me? Okay. Well, let's talk. Come on.
And we had a great conversation.
That's
and
incredible.
I remember you saying, oh, this is the best ever. No agenda. You just talk about everything.
We just have fun together.
Yeah. And that's how it went.
That is incredible. I did not remember that first meeting. That's cool.
What you may not remember also is that within some weeks, get a phone call from the church.
You do?
This is the end of the story. Yeah. I get a phone call from the church. Hello, One Community Church, Pastor Conway's office. Okay, how are you doing? And they say to me, we like to have you and your wife come to the services so Pastor Conway can interview you.
For real. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, within a month, you're on stage talking. Are you serious? Is that how
I'm
you
dead
really went?
serious.
Oh my God.
This is on our way to move to California.
Yes.
You remember? And you were very helpful.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. That's
yes.
right.
Yes.
That is incredible,
So
man.
I tell that
What
to
a
the
small
listening
world.
audience because if you want to know how one community church runs, if you want to know.
It's a good indication.
So anyway,
Oh my God.
thank you for making that time.
That's
And here we
incredible.
are many years later, and we're still in fellowship.
Love it.
And I just appreciate you.
Absolutely, man.
All right, so we're going to talk about this intersection
Yes.
between sports, business, and leadership.
I cannot wait. Come on.
And I'm thinking that I've never heard you. I've heard you speak at least 400 times, not including events, men's conference, leadership conference. And I don't know that I've ever heard you talk in depth about sports and its impact on your life, even though I know it's made an impact in your life.
So.
Okay, so
Massively so.
let's just back up a little bit. Tell the listening audience where you're from, where you grew up, and what did you grow up, I guess, playing back in those days, sports-wise?
Yeah. So I was born and I grew up in Jamaica until I was age 21. And so all my formative years, all the sports that is popular to a third world country would be popular to me. And so that is cricket, that is soccer for us, football, that is track and field, that is not baseball but softball, and those were the predominant sports that we played. And whatever the season was, we played it in our community on the road, as well as in our school system. And so we were always competing at some level. Competition was appropriate from literally the age of 4 years old, all the way till I left to come to the United States. A competition is built in to the fabric of the island of Jamaica. It's one of the reasons we produce so many track athletes, because from the age of 5, you're competing at a high level, meaning you're competing within your school because there are tribes that you have in the school system. And from that school system, then you get to represent the school as a whole. And so from literally 5 and 6, you're representing not only your tribe, but then the top athletes from the tribes then represent the school against other elementary schools. And this is not a little deal whereas most people in the U.S., your competition really comes in at middle school.
Yeah.
It starts in elementary. It starts and it's going all the way through to high school. And it is the most exciting thing. You're representing your school. You're going to the national stadium representing the school against all other elementary schools in the entire country. So now you have like 70 to 80 to 90 to 300 teams representing and competing against each other. I'm telling you, there was so much fun doing that. And then, as if that's not enough, you're coming back home, and if it's the cricket season, then you're playing cricket against your people in your community, and you're just having fun. And so all the way through, from 5 years old all the way back, it was all sports, every day, all day. That's all we did.
Built into the system.
Built into the system. It really was.
So
It was
then
fun.
you would say for what your kids are growing up with is very boring.
My kids right now?
From a sports
Oh my God.
competitive.
Yes. I mean, we're focused on all the wrong things. Yes, it's no longer fun. Anyways, we can talk about all of that for a long time. But it was built into the fabric from your 5 years old that you're competing based on the sport. So one semester it's track, the other semester it's soccer. Let's just call it soccer. So one semester it's soccer, the other summer semester it's softball, and then it's cricket when the cricket teams are being played nationally. But you were playing every sport you could. Whether you're great at it or not, you're in it.
So everybody's playing 100% participation.
Yep.
No opting out until a certain age, or what?
No, you're going to get opt out depending on whether or not you're really good at it. So if you're average at it, you still compete. But if you're not very good at it at all, then you go in another direction, whether that's on the academic side, and then you have challenges with school challenge quiz. So now you have schools, elementary schools and high schools competing for knowledge. And now it's a competition as who knows the best in chemistry. And so it's just, the entire thing is a survival of the fittest. So they're looking for the cream of the crop to thrive. And so you're always competing. It's part of what you do. You're always competing.
Okay. So this theme of competition in Jamaica then clearly made an impact on you.
Oh, massively so.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the sports then. Which ones did you gravitate to?
So the number one sport I gravitated to was track and field. It was where Jamaica had the most accolades internationally. So that's the one everybody kind of leaned to because you knew you'd get the most praise and the most accolades if you went in that direction. So from an early age, again, we had class 4, class 3, class 2, class 1. That's all the way up to elementary, and you'd be representing your elementary school all the way through. And for us, it was prep and primary, following the British system, but it's the same thing, elementary school. And so we're running the 100 meters. It was the 60 meters. It was the potato sack race. It was the touch relays. It was all of that. And we're just competing in the environment against our peers in that particular school. And then if you made it up to the top, which we did, then we'd compete as a whole and as a school and represent our school. And it was great. When you did great at the national level, then you come back to the school and you're a superstar, and it's just all the accolades that come with that, good or bad, but all of them.
So the people listening,
yep,
are clearly thinking about a few athletes, one of which is Usain Bolt, given where you come from. So were you a speed guy, or were you more middle distance? What was your event?
No, it was all speed. The joy was in the speed. We're not running middle. It takes too long to find the winner. It was all speed, my friend. It was all speed. 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters.
Okay.
And I particularly ran the 400 meters and the 200 meters.
Okay.
Very similar to what Bolt did, actually. And so he ran the 2 on the 4, which is where he started out. And those are the 2 I ran later on in elementary, not earlier on, right? Earlier on, it was the 100 meters and the 60 meters and the 200 meters. As you matured a little bit, you got to the bigger races, but it was only one. I mean, the stars only ran one lap around the field. We're not doing the 800 meters. That's for people in the country, but not us. That sounds very arrogant, but that's what we thought back in the day.
But that's the community that you grew up in.
That's exactly right.
And so that's what they praised.
That's correct.
That's what got the attention.
Correct. Whatever you celebrate, you cultivate. That's what we cultivated.
Okay.
Track stars.
Okay.
100 meters, 200 meters, yeah.
And you ran this all the way through what would have been high school, the equivalent?
All the way through high school.
Okay.
All the way through my senior year of high school.
Okay.
Yeah, I loved it.
All right. So then you talked about soccer. Soccer was the only one. What did you like about soccer?
There's tons of stuff you love about soccer. So while we did that, we were playing soccer. So in the elementary side, we played soccer. We played and represented our team, and we actually won the trophy across all of the what we call the Kingston area, which is the central area, and we won the trophy. And our school got a lot of accolades for it. I played goalkeeper at that time,
really,
and I captained the soccer team at that time. So it was just great. It was wonderful. It was incredible. Had a great time playing the sport, and so I loved soccer, but there was more praise in track and field than there was in soccer. So what do I love about soccer? I love the camaraderie. I love the team sport. I love the collaboration. I love the working together. I love the strategy behind the game. And I love the discipline that you have to have, and everybody's got to play their own role for the team to be successful.
Okay. Awesome. That makes sense. So strategy, goalkeeper, you're kind of a leader. I mean, you are a central leader in that role.
Yeah.
And you captain the team too.
Correct. And then you're actually leading from behind. So if you know anything about soccer, you get the ball in the back and you're distributing it, and you're talking to the teammates. When there's a corner kick, I need you to be here, you to be there, you to be there. And so you're just directing the whole time. It's like, you're directing the show from start to finish, which is why I talk loud, which is why, all of that. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to get at. So that's what I wanted to understand is the early Pastor Conway, before you're pastor, before you moved to the United States, it's competition. It's preparing for the Olympics, basically.
Absolutely. 100%.
You've got multiple sports that you're playing, and you get to lead when you're on the soccer field.
100%.
How much of that impacts and influences how you think, who you are today?
Everything. When you think about leading proactively, when you think about leaders looking around the corner, when you think about proactive leadership. It is what might happen next, and how do you prepare for what might happen next? Well, all of that was built into soccer. It is there's a corner kick coming. What might happen?
You're defending.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Where's the ball? Where might the ball go? How do we mark every player that potentially can score? And it's my job to direct our team to make sure that every person is in the right role before that corner kick kicks. And then when it does, it's my job to prevent the ball from hitting the back of the net. So yeah, it's all leadership, and it's all direction, and it's all inspiring guys to do the right thing so that the ball stays out of the back of the net.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the job. I was directing at the age of 7 and 8, and I was probably screaming at people, telling them what to do at that age. And if you don't like losing, then that became a big part. And by the way, the trophy that we won was a knockout trophy, so every game mattered. So it's not like you could lose and then come back.
Yeah,
it was
you lose,
you're out.
Yeah,
and so it became that much more intense, which meant the thrill of it was that much more important. Which also meant that if it's a 0-0 tie, it goes to penalty kicks, and now you've really got to put your best game foot forward so that you can help your team win.
That's awesome.
Love it.
So we're going to get into leadership in a minute. Before we get into the leadership stuff, role models. Who were some of your role models in sports and outside of sports when you were growing up?
There's a guy called, in track and field, there's a guy called Donald Quarry. A lot of people don't know about him. But he was one of the first guys that got a bronze medal in the 100 meters. And where I lived, the school across the street, about a 5-minute walk, was named after this guy. And so he was a big role model. In addition to that, he lived in the community that I lived in and grew up in. And so I remember passing his house and thinking, oh my gosh, that's the guy that won a bronze medal at the Olympics. And so it was just an exciting role model to follow, knowing that he was from the same community. There's a school that was named after him. He was in our community, and how can we follow his leadership and do the best that we can? And he was just flat out inspirational for us. On the soccer side, there's a goalkeeper called Schumacher, but he wasn't really a deal. We're just Argentina. In Jamaica, you're either Brazil or Argentina, right? That's all you cared about. And I was on the Argentina side, so my hero was Maradona, and the best goal ever scored in soccer was by the guy. Even though in that same game he used his hand, and there's an infamous play where he used his hand to score a goal, and they counted it. And so Maradona was just a great guy. He was physically fit. He was robust. He knew his craft. He worked hard at his craft, and he led them to a World Cup finals and to victory. And because of that, he's always one of the heroes that most Jamaicans would hail and celebrate. Or it would be on the other side. It would be Pele, or a guy called Socrates. These are old guys now. Or a guy called Socrates, that people would say, oh my gosh, and they would hail those guys today. So yeah, but those guys were megalomania guys to us. They were superstars. They were guys that modeled the way, and we wanted to emulate.
Yeah, so you had people from a distance, the Argentinian, and then you had a guy in your neighborhood, which is really, really cool.
It really was. It really, really was.
All right, what about outside of the world of sports? Who were the people that were role models to you at that point?
So first of all, one of the guys that really shaped my faith journey was a guy that was just 2 years older than me. His name was Paul, and
that's a good name.
And he simply lived out his faith, and that was significant for me because there's a fork in the road where I had to choose whether or not I was going to follow and walk in the path of faith or not. And so for me, Paul was the epitome of what I called back then a cool guy, going to college, loving Jesus, and it was just incredibly influential in my life. So on that side, it was him. On the business side, it was 2 people that went to my church at the time, and 1 person that I did what I called a summer. It's not an internship. You just kind of work in the store, but I watched them. They owned their own business. They were thriving in their business, and I just watched their work ethic and why things were important to them and what was important to them. And they really shaped me. And I did that for probably 4 years every summer. And I just watched how they handled their life. And that shaped my work ethic massively so as well. So one that was 2 years ahead of me, another gentleman that I thought was significantly older than me, but he was running a business and he did it well.
That's awesome. So you mentioned a couple things about Jamaica.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the show In Living Color?
I am, absolutely. 100%. That's old school, but yes, I am.
There was a parody they made about your wonderful country, about how many jobs Jamaicans have. But you talk about work ethic. That's what got me thinking about that. Yeah. How much of that is true?
Well, all of it's true.
Okay.
Because again, when you come from a country where the survival of the fittest are the only people that last. What it means is that because most people on the island, they're just trying to meet their basic needs. And if you want to excel, the way to do that is through education, one. And then if you want to excel, the way to do that is you've got to have enough money to meet your needs and then to do the things that you want to do, which are excess, whether that's invest in another company or anything like that. So what you have is people really trying to get out of poverty and move in the direction of some kind of middle-class wealth. And they will do whatever it takes to do it and then to help their kids in the process. So what that means, 2, 3, 4 jobs, they'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. And because the pain of poverty was imprinted on our hearts, we didn't ever want to feel that pain anymore. And it moved us to work as hard as we could, do whatever we could to get out of poverty so that we could have a better life for ourselves.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
So that's why today my wife has 2 jobs and I have 2 jobs. Still, it hasn't gotten out of us yet. So it's just what we do.
Yes. All right. I want to ask about doors that open. So this college door opens for you. And I don't know that I've even talked to you about the story of you getting into college and going to a place, but I'm thinking sports helped open a door.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so can 100%. You talk about that?
Yeah, so a fascinating journey of mine. So I did track and field, and intriguingly, the same coach that coaches both right now was my coach outside of school, and he got me a scholarship to go to TCU. And that's what I wanted to do, running 200. We went to the Penn Relays, or high school represented Jamaica at the Penn Relays, and it was great. We did a 4x1. We came in second. It was great.
Wow.
It was incredible. And so my coach saw something that he wanted to develop more. He thought if I went to TCU, it would give me the best opportunity to develop the track prowess a little bit better. Came home to my dad, said, "Dad, here's an opportunity." And my dad said, "Nope, sir. No, you're not ready for this. You're not mature enough for this. If I send you overseas by yourself, I don't know that you have the character and the stamina to be a healthy young man in a foreign land representing your faith well."
Oh, okay. And so
he said no.
You probably said as a wonderful kid, you said, "Dad, you're absolutely right." You gave him a high five. You kept it going.
Well,
is that how that story went?
You know better than that. I couldn't believe he was saying no. You got one of the best coaches all time putting his hand of blessing on you and telling you that you should go. You've got the opportunity waiting. The door is open. The scholarship is there. And my dad says, I don't think you're ready for that. And I was probably frustrated, disappointed, mad for about 2 years.
Wow.
Because it just didn't make sense why here was a unique opportunity that so few people get. Somebody opened the door for me, but he just did not think my character would sustain who God was calling me to be in a foreign country with nobody around that he vouched for.
So what happened
And
instead?
so after that, it was disappointing. We went back, went to college in Jamaica, went through it, finished college in an accounting degree in Jamaica, started working in the business world in accounting, and still playing soccer for our church and community team, not running anymore. And then another scholarship turned up where a friend of mine, who was a good friend of my dad, who was coaching a team in San Diego, decided that he needed some soccer players. And so he sent and asked us whether or not there were men in Jamaica that would want a scholarship to play soccer in San Diego at a Christian school. And the door opened up. And my dad thought, there are 6 guys going with you.
From Jamaica?
From Jamaica.
Okay.
It's a much better situation. It's a Christian school. I know the coach. He can vouch for you in the eventuality of anything happening. And so he decided that, I think this would be the right opportunity for you to go. And so he allowed that opportunity to open up. And by the way, right before that happened, Tim, this is fascinating. I'm playing soccer on the street and I tore ligaments in my right knee, scholarship in jeopardy, my leg in a cast. They don't do surgery like they do. We don't have the money for that. So they put a hard cast from the top of your thigh to your ankle and say, stay 3 months off of it. You'll be all right. The coach still allowed me to come and still allowed me to sit out the first year and then play the second year. It was incredible, man. It was all a faith move, and I'm just grateful for that. But it was great. It was awesome.
That's a lot of dominoes to come together. and a closed door before the dominoes start to fall in place.
That's exactly right.
It's very interesting.
That's exactly. And no telling where I'd be today if I'd taken the first one.
Well, what did you think about your maturity level and character level?
I thought that in hindsight, he was absolutely correct. I mean, hindsight meaning like a year ago. But before that, I was like, that made no sense to me. Here I have the opportunity to go be a great big star, and my dad said no. And but I think he was absolutely 100% right. I was going in isolation, not in community, and the camaraderie of the guys that came to San Diego with me versus Texas were vital in the maturation, development, both in the sport and in your own character development. So it was great.
So there's a nice bridge there. To people who aren't familiar with One Community Church, it's a church where no one walks alone. And here I'm hearing you talk about
intriguing
walking in isolation versus walking in community.
Yeah.
And how powerful and how important the role of community was for you.
Oh, it was vital.
Whether you're a business or whether you're a leader or whether you're a church or whether you're an athlete or whether you're out of high school going to college.
Absolutely.
We need community. Can you talk about the name of our church and even how and why vital community is to us and to our life?
Yeah, no, I think, I just think you can go further together than you can do by yourself. And because of that, I think community is a vital part to the development of any human being in whatever field you're in. I think anything that you can do collaboratively, I think it takes you further than you can go by yourself. And so to our church, we think you cannot grow spiritually. We don't believe in isolation. You grow better and faster in community. And so we believe life change, you developing, happens best in the context of community. We are convinced that as a community of believers, we ought not to do things alone, but we ought to do them together. And so it's always been a part of my journey in sports and in life. It's even the reason why I like now soccer more than track and field, because track and field you're by yourself. It's you, your mind, your heart, your passion. Let's drive it to the finish line. A team sport brings out the best in you. And I think it brings out character qualities where you're not always first. Sometimes it's best for you to sit on the bench so the team can go further, faster. And I think that's just critical in life and in sports. Yes.
Appreciate you breaking that down. And it's really cool to now make these connections, even though we've met so many times and done so many things together. I love the podcast because it opens up stuff that previously I didn't know about people. Yeah. And it's just fun like that. Bonafide Leaders works with emerging leaders, established leaders, and executives. We exist to help you, your teams, and your business thrive, specializing in executive coaching, leadership development, organizational consulting, and keynote speaking services. Providing the absolute highest level of quality and service, we partner with our clients to help them grow, elevate their leadership effectiveness, navigate organizational change, culture, and leadership transitions, to advance employee engagement and retention, and raise bottom-line operations. If these are the kinds of problems you're seeking to solve and you're humble, hungry, and coachable, we might be a good fit. If that's you, reach out to me at bonafideleaders.com/contact.
I love it. I love it.
All right, so you have like 25 degrees. And so I want you to talk about where your thirst, which you've touched on a little bit in terms of poverty, your thirst for education, where did that come from beyond, if anything, poverty?
Yeah. So in a third world country, I believe there's just this drilling into you that education is the pathway to prosperity. It's just drilled into you. It's what matters. So once you get on that path, then you get this insatiable desire for learning. And if you're convinced of that, then you just want to learn. So learning becomes fun for you. It wasn't fun for me in elementary or even in high school, but once you get to the college level, learning now became fun. So studying accounting in an undergraduate degree and just learning the art of seeing how things are put together was fun. In addition to that now, my boss, this is very important to my plethora of degrees, my boss was making in a month what I was making in a year. And so I'm not saying this is a good motivation for all kids and students to follow. But she was making in a month what I was making in a year. And I was giving her all my reports to go to the board meeting. And that did something to me on the inside. Yeah. And I said, whatever she has, I need to get it so that I can be that person. So then she had a master's degree in business. So I knew my next move, once I finished my first degree, was to get a master's degree because she did it. Now, if you're a person of faith, then my journey was significant because God was working all things together for me, even though I didn't know what He was doing in my devious ways of trying to get a degree to make more money. He was working something out that I did not know I'd need 30 years later. Anyways, so part of the passion for me came from learning, the desire to learn, and then the desire to help other people get to where I was. I don't know why, but I just don't believe, Tim, that enough people have the opportunities I had. I have so many opportunities, have been coached and mentored by so many of the best leaders in the world, that I am just passionate about helping other people get to where I am. I don't know. It is not a driver of money. It's just a driver of being overwhelmed with gratitude for me to be where I am today. And I want to help as many people as I can get there. And so not only was learning important, but helping other people learn was equally important, so they did not have to go through the pathways I had to go through to get to where I am today. And so those two drivers became of paramount importance for me, and they still are today, to be honest with you. How do I help enough people get where I have the privilege to get to? And then how do I play the role of the Michael that called my name and gave me a scholarship? I don't deserve that. How do I get the role to hang out with a young man, a mentor of mine called Howard Hendry? Who am I to hang out with him? And then how do I get the role to hang out with my spiritual father, Tony Evans? How do I get the role to hang out with so many other people that I just feel I was not worthy to be in their rooms? How do I get the role to hang out with Chuck Swindoll, to hang out with John Maxwell? I'm not deserving of those. And so anyway, I can help somebody shorten their journey, like these men helped me shorten mine, is an honor and a privilege. I don't know if that makes sense, but
it makes wonderful sense and so well said. And I want to take a moment to publicly say thank you for many of the doors that you have opened. If you haven't done it for anybody else, which we know you have, you have absolutely done it for me. the fact that I've been able to shake the hands of some of these people who you just mentioned, and get a book signed and to be in a close proximity
Yeah.
is,
It's special.
I call it a blessing.
Yeah.
Particularly if you think about where both you and I came from.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
To now be in these spaces and places.
It literally brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
Just because you just know you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Nothing you did on your own earned you the right to be where you are today.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can help 10 people get there, then I'm committing my life to it. You know
All right,
what I mean?
love it. I want to end with these last two things.
Right.
You shepherded the lives of many people, including me, thousands of men and women, young boys and girls. And you've talked about where the seeds were planted. You being in rooms and spaces and having doors open for you, being on the soccer field as the goalie and commanding the team on where to be. How have you cultivated your leadership development over time? And particularly when you answer, give the listener a sense of if they are not yet where they want to be, but they want to cultivate and grow their leadership. What could they learn from the way you've gone about?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd give you three thoughts. I think one of them is you've got to commit to learning, and you've got to commit to studying, and you've got to commit to whatever you believe is your calling, is the thing you must do. There are many things you can do, very few things you must do. Once you narrow that down to the few things you must do, then I think the basic education to learn and master what people before you have done is vital. But then one of the things that I think was pivotal in my development is for about 10 years, I knew that I wanted to learn leadership because of a couple of mentors, and I knew that I wanted to help pastors, and I knew that I wanted to help model what a healthy body of believers look like. So because of that, while I was in undergraduate in San Diego, intriguingly enough, about 5 miles from where we lived, John Maxwell was pastoring a church, and he had a thing called the Enjoy Life Club. And I'm telling you, I listened to, there's not a, this is going to date us again. There's not a cassette tape that he had that I didn't listen to. They came out once a month, and I listened to every single one. So here's what that means. That means I immersed myself with the best leader I knew, and I went to work studying. What does this person do, and how can I learn everything that they do, and how can I think and learn how they think so that I can think the way they think. And literally for 10 years straight, all I did was immerse myself while I was getting my education, while I was a youth pastor at the church. But every waking moment that was free that I got, I went to work and I studied and I listened and I took my notes and I studied and I studied and I studied. And the reason that's important is because now, when I lead people, lead organizations, lead complex environments, it's innate to me. It's I don't have to think about it. It's innate because for 10 solid years in my 20s, I was just immersing myself in how great leaders thought. And today, I sometimes have to step back and say, how did I know to do that? But the reason you do is because you have thought about it so much. It's so second nature. You just know the right thing to do. And I'm alarmed at the fact that everybody doesn't know this. I literally am. I'm like, what? Why did you do it that way? That wasn't wise. Why didn't you do it this way? And it's when I look back on those years in my 20s, I came here in 21, and when I was 21 years old, and from 21 to about my 25, 27, 28, I mean, that's all I did. And I think immersing yourself in your craft becomes vital to your long-term trajectory. So let me say it this way: in your from 0 to 18 or 20 or so, your job is to get education out of the way. From 20 to about 40 or so, your job is to become an apprentice and to master learning from other people. 40 to 60, I believe, is your years of greatest impact. The plane should have been off by the time you get to 40, and it's your job now to become the best at what you do for the ultimate motive that's driving you. And then from 60 to when you meet your maker, your job is to become a sage and to look back and help everybody else navigate the waters and the journey. So in those 20 to 40, Tim, I promise you, and by the way, I didn't know, I know now it sounds crisp. It wasn't crisp back then.
Yeah.
I now looking back, see what I did. But those are the days when you are immersing yourself and becoming an apprentice to somebody, here we go, and helping them succeed and not worried about where your name is going to be, but you're just making somebody else better. And I think it's vital for the generation behind us to learn how to bless other people and help them become successful.
Folks, that was a masterclass in how you develop. And what you just talked about is stuff that you and I, as you know, are so incredibly passionate about.
Absolutely.
What we think about and what we try to do all day, every day. And it's why my wife was able to get that first meeting set up with you. I'll leave you with, I wanted to get to some rapid fire, but we may be out of time for that.
No, you're fine, man. Go.
But I want to ask you a deeper question. There's people out there who listen to this who are not people of faith. There's people out there who are immersed in church all the time. Man, there's some complexity to this question, and I wonder how you would answer it, which is the church as an institution is many things, particularly our church, because of its size and its influence. So some people think of the church as both a business.
Yeah.
Some people think of it as a religious institution. Some people think of it as a place where they go and they get help. And there's many, many other things that people look at the church to be. How do you view, in the context of what we've been talking about, this intersection between sports and business and leadership? How do you view the church?
I am convinced, Tim, that the church is an institution that God has inaugurated to bring forth his kingdom, which is what he originally intended to do when everything was created. So the reason that's important for me to start there is because of that, I view the church as the epicenter of culture, and that we ought to model for the community what Christ originally intended for the earth to be, which is why we can't take sides, and which is why we have to lead and model better than everybody else, not from an arrogant perspective, but from a servant perspective, where it's our role and our job to simply serve others as Jesus came not to be served, but to be the chief servant of all. And I think the church's role is to model for the community what Christ would be like if he was living and walking with us. That is so powerful to me, which is why it becomes a driver behind everything that I do. I don't know if I answered your question.
Well, you answered part of it.
Okay, good.
There's another part of it, which is the church collects funds.
Yeah.
And some people get really bent out of shape over the idea of a quote unquote religious institution, a place that helps people can also collect money and people can earn an income from this thing. And how do you manage that tension as lead pastor between income and profit and growth and running it where you're caring for people, but also there is an operational aspect to this thing as well?
I'm going right back to my first part again. So because, Tim, I believe that the church's job is to model for community how to do everything, which includes how to operate the church in such a way that if Christ was running it, it would look like Christ fingers are all through it, which means even as a business, we should run the church in such a way that it's healthy, that it's the model of how other people should run their business. So when it comes to the church, we argue that when it comes to the resources, we shouldn't be begging people for money. We should teach clearly and allow people to do what they believe the Spirit of the living God is telling them to do. So I don't think it's a place where you coerce people to give. I don't think it's a place where you do anything else except model. So for me as a pastor, I believe it's my job to model what somebody with money should look like. Which means it's not to flaunt it. It's to realize that if the church has money, then it's our job to meet the needs of the community. And how can we do it in the best possible way so that wherever there are needs, that the church is the first one to meet the need and not the government be the first one to meet the need. And if it comes to me personally or my family personally, we should model for them what it looks like to have money, but handle it and steward it so well, which is modeling, which is the best form of influence for the community and for the members of the church, what it looks like to have money and yet still be good stewards of that. I just think in all areas, he says that one of the things we should do is we should model for the community what it looks like to be a healthy organization, or if you want it, a healthy business. And we should inspire our teams to lead well and lead courageously while simultaneously caring for their needs. And we should balance giving them a fair wage for what they do. And we should inspire them, and we should create pockets of when they have needs that are above what they can pay for. We should be the first ones to say, we want to help in that area while facilitate you being a better steward. And we should, like we do as a church, look for areas in the community where they're doing good and just write checks and tell them to go do what you do better. And we shouldn't infiltrate and try to do what they do better. If they're doing a good job, we should provide the resources, which we do, to bless them to do what they do very well. I just think it's our job to model what Christ-likeness looks like in the business world as a church operates as a business.
Well said.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Okay.
It makes sense.
All right.
And I hope that people get it, because there's a lot. There's so much that happens that you and I see, and especially you see, given that you mentor and you coach other pastors of all sizes.
Absolutely.
And you've been a part of really big churches and you've been a part of really small churches.
Big time.
There's so much that is misunderstood
Big time.
about what really happens at well-run churches. I'm not going to say it's every church, but at well-run churches, there's so much that's misunderstood. And I hope
but
people get
again, what I love about this, Tim, is that all the lessons that we learned and that we try to implement is because we've been a part of churches that have done it well and have not done it well. And it's a collection, which all of us are, right? It's a collection of the lessons that we've learned from the past that now we're trying to put into practice to say this is kind of how it looks.
And if we're taking good notes.
That's a big if.
And we're mature.
And that's a big if.
And that's what we should be doing in every part of our life, right?
Yes.
All right, last thing then.
Yeah.
Let's get you out of here on this. Rapid fire.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know it's tough. You have so many degrees. A plethora. That was the word that was used. I like it. What's your favorite degree? I know you like learning. What's your favorite degree? The one that you enjoyed learning or experiencing the most?
Man, that's a hard question. Because they're all built on each other. That's a very hard question. But if I have to choose one, and you say you got to choose one right now, it'd be my organizational leadership degree, and only because it forced you to study leadership across the entire history of the subject, and there are just too many things I've learned from that helps organizationally and individually. That's just priceless
Across multiple domains.
Absolutely,
yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Favorite soccer club?
Oh, Manchester United by far. Not close. They're doing horrible right now, but I'm a diehard, so I'm staying with them. I'm not staying with the Cowboys, but I'm staying with with Manchester United.
All right, let's talk about Olympics. Your favorite Jamaican Olympian of all time?
Shelley Ann Fraser-Pryce.
Beautiful.
She has She has gone through 4 different Olympics and have done incredible at every last one of them. And she is I love Bolt, but she's just lesser known. And I think what she has accomplished in the 100, 200, and 4x1 is world renowned and should be hailed at from every mountaintop across the world. She is uniquely great. And then, more importantly, what she's done with her influence since then to really help other kids develop and create environments for primary, elementary school kids to thrive. She's just an ambassador for Jamaica that's like none other.
Isn't it awesome when the on the field or on the court and the off the field, off the court matches? Isn't it beautiful?
If you know anything about it, if you don't, you need to go Google her. She's incredible. She's once in a lifetime personality to watch. And she's nobody big, everybody little. She's not trying to be the superstar. She's just trying to do her best with the influence that has been granted to her. It's beautiful to watch.
Your favorite U.S. Olympian?
Ooh, that's a good one. Oh, come on. Ooh. Oh, gosh. And she runs the 400-meter hurdles.
Today,
right
Sydney.
now. And she's in... At the time of this podcast, she's actually in Jamaica. It is Sydney.
Yeah.
And she competes with no one except herself. And she is simply trying to compete against history. And she is one of the most humblest individuals you'll ever find on the planet of Earth. She's a woman of faith, and she just represents her faith well.
Yeah.
There is no form of arrogance about her, and she crushes it every day she goes on that field. I just don't know how you can choose somebody that's better than her.
And we're talking about Sydney McLaughlin. I forgot her married name.
Correct. That's what I'm talking about.
And young lady, too.
Very, very
mature.
Young. I would love to hear her story and her history to find out how she's so poised in the midst of the greatest, most competitive events ever. It's incredible to watch. But it has to be Sydney,
A tougher question. Your favorite one community church campus? And there's only one right answer.
All of them. All of them. All of them. All of them. Actually, no. My favorite one community church campus is when we first started our church.
Okay.
In the hotel. That's our favorite one. No, that's a safe answer right here.
That's very safe. Very safe. All right, last question. Your biggest game you've ever been to, or the best game you've ever been to in any sport that you watched live in person? Biggest match, best game you've ever watched live in person?
Oh, wow. Biggest game I've ever watched live. Oh, my gosh. Oh. But here's the problem. The problem is, I'm not going to give any. The problem is, when you're growing up, you didn't have the money to go to any of these things. You had to watch them on TV.
That's right.
And so it's only in the later years of life that you get to go to some of these things. But good night. What a question, Tim. That's a great one. Ooh.
It's always fun to stump the past.
Yeah, it is. This is a good one, man. In-person game I've ever watched that was... Oh, Tim, biggest game, best game. I'm so sorry. Hold on. I got to think through this one. I was there in the stadium.
Playoff game. Tournament game.
I get it. I get all of those. Biggest game. Ooh, Tim, in person? Oh, hold on. Give me 15 more seconds. Hold on.
Because this is so important, I'm going to just let you think and work it out. And if you don't work it out, it's okay.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. I've been to good games and great games, but I don't know that they're the biggest. I've been to playoff basketball games here, playoff games at the Cowboy Arena. I've been to soccer games and SoFi Stadium.
All right, you've been to some big ones. How about that? We'll just say you'll think about it later.
Yeah,
you'll let me know.
That's good. All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Thank you for the pass.
I want to say this has been so much fun. And I have enjoyed these moments with you. We have done, and you've opened up so many doors for me. We've been to Israel, the Holy Land together.
Come on now. Come on. That's awesome.
All those Saturday night dinners, so many of those people I'm still in great fellowship with today.
That's awesome.
Our families get together.
Awesome.
You just have no idea the power of your influence by just opening that door a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you let us do the work,
Absolutely.
or ministry opportunities.
Yeah.
People I've been able to meet through some of those.
Yeah.
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart how much I appreciate you, your friendship, your counsel, and allowing me to counsel you every now and again too.
Come on, man. I love it. That's the best part. Man, listen, it's a joy, my friend. Thank you for the history together, for the family times together, for sons getting together. It's been a joy, man. And so thank you. And it's been beautiful to watch you thrive in your career, watch you move into another season of your career. It's been beautiful to watch, and it's been beautiful to watch that you excel in everyone that you go to.
Well,
so incredible job. So proud to know you and to be a friend of it.
Well, thank you. Look, if you want to know more about Pastor Conway, what he's up to, you should know that he hosts a monthly podcast called the Leadership Roundtable, and he leads the Climb Coaching Network. You can find more about his Climb Coaching Network at climbcoachingnetwork.org. You can follow him on Facebook, Instagram. His handle is at Dr.Conway Edwards. So I encourage you all to look him up. He's a fabulous guy to know. Pastor Conway, thank you so much.
My pleasure, my friend. Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening. If you got value from this podcast, don't keep it a secret. Subscribe, leave a rating or a review, and share it with someone you know. Until next time, remember, our world is starving for bona fide leaders. Take your leadership to the next level by applying at least one thing you heard today.